For every horror movie that ends up on VOD, there are countless others that end up DOA. Development Hell is a podcast dedicated to unearthing these plagued horror productions to find out what went wrong and if they've still got a shot at the green light. Today we're going to be discussing a film that made it all the way to release. We're talking about 2020 Shudder release, The Mortuary Collection. We're having an in-depth interview with creator Ryan Spindell, who's going to talk about his own development hell journey, not just with The Mortuary Collection, but as an indie filmmaker in Hollywood. So if you want to know what it takes to get an indie horror film made these days, take a listen. All right. Hi, Ryan. Thank you for coming on my podcast. I'm really excited to have you here. You're kind of like our first celebrity guest of sorts, so that's exciting.
Well, you're the first person to ever refer to me as a celebrity, so that is also exciting.
Wow, it started. You're going to have like a reality show soon. So how would you introduce yourself?
My name is Ryan Spindell. I am the writer and director of a feature film called The Mortuary Collection, which just premiered on Shudder for Halloween.
Where are you based right now?
I'm in Los Angeles. I live in Silver Lake.
Very cool. What's it like there right now in all of this Gehenna?
It's surreal, honestly. Yeah. We have a sort of weird combination of the fact that where are you, by the way?
I'm in Toronto.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So very different. It's kind of surreal here in that, we have beautiful weather most of the year and, fires, natural disasters aside. And so we're kind of, I live on a hill and I have sort of a view of downtown, and it's just like looking out the window and seeing the beautiful perfection that sort of is LA on the surface, but knowing that you can't really venture into it or sort of do any of the things that, you would normally move to this city for. And I'm definitely somebody from really, really small towns. So I moved to the city and I live in the city because of the people who are here and the things that come with living in a city. And the fact that those things don't exist anymore and now I can't be around the people has definitely made me reevaluate sort of my priorities, I think.
Oh, God, me too. Like, I'm paying so much money to live in a tiny apartment in the city when I could live in a spooky cabin for half the price.
Or a castle.
Or a castle. Absolutely a castle. That's the way to do it. So I'm going to dive right in because I am a journalist. Is there any truth behind the rumors of a Mortuary Collection TV series? Or is this all fabrication?
I hope so. I hope so. I think, I've been working on this for so long that I feel like it's unclear to me where the seed of everything began. But I do think that I remember moving to LA and really, being sort of fascinated by this specific brand of horror, which is, I guess the easiest way to classify it would be fun horror, sort of the throwback kind of Amblin, fantastical, sort of adventure-y, maybe there's a little bit of childlike wonder in there. I've always been fascinated with that. And because of that, I was really drawn to series like Tales from the Crypt, that was on HBO, Creepshow, the movie, and all the different sort of spin-offs of, what initially were EC Comics and sort of that kind of tongue planted firmly in cheek genre. And, I moved out here and I was like, I really feel like that's the kind of series I want to see again, but it doesn't exist. Let me just walk into all of these studios and ask them if I can start making Tales from the Crypt, or I can get the rights to Eerie or Creepy or Creepshow, and kind of like trying to find a brand that people recognize that I could then sort of, spin more of those yarns. And I was quickly shot down, obviously, because I was a nobody and I'm trying to get hold of these properties that were never going to be let go to someone like me. And so I was like, maybe why don't I just make a film that's sort of in the vein of Creepshow and the anthology movies that I really loved growing up, and use that to kind of create my own sort of world of stories. And then if it works and if people like it, from there we could sort of branch out into a series of some sort, or sequels, or whatever, the audience demands. And so that was 12 years ago that I was thinking these thoughts. So now I'm just kind of coming off of making this film, and the world of Raven's End, I think, is overstuffed with more stories to be told, and many of them I already have pretty fleshed out in my brain or on my computer here. So I think if the word gets out about this movie, and if enough people say that they want more, I think maybe the powers that be will take notice.
I am a child of Are You Afraid of the Dark? So your film really resonated with me on every possible level. Did anybody get the sign for Raven's End? Is that the name?
Yeah, you mean, did anybody get to keep it?
Yeah.
No, I wish. It was the coolest sign. What we did, it was actually a pretty good trade-off because the thing was massive and it weighed a ton. And we shot all that stuff up in Astoria, Oregon, which is, pretty far away from here. That's where they shot all the exterior stuff from Goonies. It's got that sort of.
I was so convinced it was Canada. I really was hoping that it would be.
Yeah. Well, we originally, I wanted to shoot in Canada very much. My initial spot that we came really close to shooting was actually in Montreal, because it has that really amazing Gothic architecture that's kind of impossible to find on this continent. But we ended up running into some trouble with the unions where our movie was just too small to afford that kind of trip. And so Oregon ended up being the next best thing just because it has these epic landscapes, these like amazing forests. And Astoria in particular is basically a town completely made of sort of these little quaint Victorian homes kind of wedged against the coast. So we kind of shifted what Raven's End was and what it would look like a little bit to make that work. But I think it did end up being something sort of wholly original, which is probably better in the long run. Oh, and to answer the question about the sign, what ended up happening is because my friend and our art director, Katie, she made that thing by hand, and it was so beautiful. I don't even feel like the movie captures it in really all of its glory. We donated it to the Oregon Film Museum, which is actually based in Astoria. So we're hoping that at some point, if enough people like this movie, they'll be sort of inspired to create an entire exhibit based on our film, and we can sort of put a bunch more cool props and stuff up there for people to come and check out firsthand.
Wow, you're going to be immortalized in a museum. Who knew?
I mean, we have dreams. We all have
it's
dreams.
Very cool. So you were saying it's been sort of a journey for this film to actualize. I know it started off as a short film, The Babysitter Murders. Was it back in 2015? Would you say it's an advisable route for indie filmmakers to go from short to feature, or would you say absolutely not, stop right now?
Ooh, I'm a little bit mixed on this one. I guess I would say that yes, it's advisable, but I think you have to manage your expectations. The way that we went about making this is I wrote the feature first, which was made of 5 shorts basically all tied together. And then I pulled one of the shorts out of the movie and sort of shot that as the proof of concept. So we did like a Kickstarter, we raised some money, and we made that back in 2015, as you already said. So it was always envisioned as part of the overall feature. And what was kind of interesting is because the short was kind of designed to be the climax of Sam's story, and Sam was a character, that we had sort of established and kind of been following through the whole movie. The short was designed to be just her climax. So I remember when we pulled it out thinking, well, is this going to feel like a 3-part story? Because really we're just seeing the end of this one character's story. But that's kind of the beauty of shorts is you don't need to sort of, I do think you need to tell a 3-act story. I think you need that structure still, but you can sort of, it takes some more wild swings and just sort of go for it and kind of just kind of get crazy and not have to worry about sort of all the little mechanics that sort of a longer film makes. So we did make that film and it did do really well. I got some fancy new reps here in LA, and we played a ton of festivals and we won a bunch of festivals. And it really did almost as much as a short could possibly do for you, but it did not get me the feature. And most people were still sort of unable to imagine what an anthology feature would look like. And so all the studios basically said no. And we did end up finding money independently to make the movie. So we sort of, it was 1/4 of what everyone was saying we would need to even begin to make it. So it was a very small kind of like guerrilla production. And I remember sort of going into that production thinking like, well, making a short is 100% a waste of time at this point. Like other than practice, like just sort of playing with the craft and kind of experimentation, it really has no value. But what I did learn in the process of making this is that when I wanted to reach out to collaborators, like for instance, our special effects company, I knew that this movie needed a lot of special effects. And I reached out to one of the best special effects companies in the world who have no business working on a movie this small. And I said, I sent them this impassioned letter, and I sent them a link to the short, and they watched the short and they really loved the short. And that got opened the conversation. And that ultimately got us sort of this amazing company that otherwise we probably wouldn't even have been able to get through the front door. And that kept happening again and again. It happened with actors. We could send them the short, and then it would sort of get streamlined right to the front, or our special effects guys, all the way down to crew. And so where the short really paid off is in the actual making of the film, because we could show people what we were doing and people could sign up knowing that they were in good hands.
You're just screaming into the void sometimes, which is true. But at the same time, if you have something special, which clearly you did, all of a sudden, all of that competition and all of that void doesn't matter because people are looking for something special. So
It's
you
true, but
have to have that.
that is true. But here's the thing: you don't really. There's not really a point in which you have something special. Like I would say, in every project I've done, there's always been a point where it just felt like a total wash and I should have walked away. But I was like, I can't, I have to keep pushing forward. Like now it's just sort of, I got to get to the end just to get to the end sort of thing. And then you kind of come out the other side and, sometimes you make something that's fine. And sometimes you get lucky and you make something that really works for people. And you kind of can't see that when you're in the woods. You kind of have to just have this weird blind faith, and you have to push through to the very, very end before you can find out. And I think that's such a demoralizing and tricky thing to navigate for filmmakers, especially new filmmakers.
Oh, definitely. So this is a podcast that's going to be all about development hell, a lot about films that never made it out of development hell. Like one of my first ones is going to be on Freddy versus Jason 2 and sort of fun franchise stuff like that. But as a filmmaker who's been through it, I was just wondering, what is development hell to you? Like, how would you define it?
There's a quote: Hollywood is the only place you can die from encouragement.
Oof, dark.
Let's go there, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's what development hell is. I think development hell is, there's sort of different phases of your career. The first phase is you're screaming into the void, as you mentioned, and nobody is screaming back. The second phase is you scream into the void and people answer and they're excited, but those people don't really have what it takes to actually do anything about it, or never intend to do anything about it in the first place. And it's this phase that I think I would categorize as development hell, which is people getting really excited about a project, usually non-creatives who don't really have to do the work. They just sort of tell you the things you want to hear, and maybe they throw you a little bit of money, or maybe they say money's coming eventually, but it never does. And they sort of they catch you up in this whirlwind of working, for months on a project that's really unlikely to ever happen, if ever was going to happen in the beginning, because they're just kind of taking wild swings. They go out to 20 people and they have 20 people take wild swings, and maybe somebody brings them gold and maybe nobody brings them anything, and they kind of move on. But for us in the trenches, we're one of those 20 people who are working on these projects and kind of slaving away, with the thought that, this really is going to be something. Ultimately, it most often of the times is not. And so for me, I made some movies in film school, and they were, one of them was really successful, and I kind of brought me out to LA, and I got some reps, and I was taking all of these really ridiculous meetings that honestly, I don't know why I was going into some of these places, but I think I had 46 meetings in the first 2 months I was out here. Everybody was excited, but everybody wanted to keep talking. Let's keep talking. Just send me stuff. Let's keep talking. And I went for about 4 years of just talking to people and writing on the side, of course, because you have to always be writing. And I thought, I genuinely thought like, oh, I have a career, because my career is going to meetings. I know all of these important people. and we talk about things. And sometimes I go all in and I work for a couple months on a pitch and I put together materials. And I realized after I think it was about 4 years of that I hadn't made anything. And that was the only reason that I started doing this in the first place. And I really had to take a step back, and I left my reps and I started focusing in, and I made my first short out here, which is called The Root of the Problem. And that was the first time I realized, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing it. I can make a thing. And then of course, The Root of the Problem plays a bunch of festivals. And then of course, people are interested again, and the whole cycle starts to repeat itself. But I just kept making things from there. And that's kind of where the Mortuary Collection and the Babysitter Murders was born, was this idea of like, let's just keep making things, because every time we make something, people respond. And if we make enough things, people will have to sort of pull the trigger. It won't just be like a casual discussion. It will be something more. And it's easy to, I mean, look, even right now, having just made the movie and sort of it's released into the world and the response has been amazing, I'm worried about falling back into the trap of taking meetings and discussing projects that could be for another several years, because it's a place I don't ever want to go back to. And it's always kind of calling, because this idea of, oh, you're going to finally take this step and suddenly, J.J. Abrams is going to call you in and he's going to give you a project, and then you're off to the races. And from then on out, you're a professional filmmaker. And, that does happen for some people, but I think for the most of us, we just have to keep making.
That's chilling, because I'm experiencing a lot of what you're describing right now as a filmmaker, and yeah, I'm gonna have to revisit that emotionally at some point in my future. But for now, I was wondering, do you have any sense of what's next for you? I was seeing that there's a documentary called We Come in Pieces about anthology horror, which looks extremely cool. But if someone's to ask you, like, what are you working on now or next, what would you say?
Like everyone, I have several projects in the works right now. I mean, this project has been all encompassing for so long. It was actually a pretty big readjust to sort of take the next step and sort of start thinking about what's next. And that's the kind of thing that's different about directors from writers. And I know a lot of writers who are working a lot. And the thing about writers is they just churn out scripts, right? So they write a script, go out, maybe it sells, maybe it doesn't. Here's another script. And they just kind of keep attacking it. But for creatives and directors like us, I don't know. Are you a director? You didn't say. You're
yeah.
Okay, cool.
I mean, listen, we've done one short, but I'm going to say yes. That's my answer.
Okay, you are a director. If you've made a short, you're a director for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
For directors like us, it's harder, because every time we ramp up, it's taking out credit cards, it's spending our own money, or if it's somebody else's money, it's still an emotional investment, and you kind of give yourself completely to a project for 1 month to a year or two. And so we can't just keep churning out content like those guys or girls. And so it's tricky for us with me, like finishing this feature and figuring out the next step. I have to sort of be careful about which direction I go, because, if I jump onto another project, that's going to be the next year of my life. And I want to spend my life making projects that I, so far I've focused on projects that I genuinely care about and inspire me. And you can't be too picky, I guess, but if I can somehow figure out a way to continue that, that would be ideal. So of course I'm finishing a feature right now that I'm really excited about. I very much want to live in the horror space. I think my genre specifically leaning towards, I guess, like a dark Steven Spielberg would be the ultimate way for people to describe me. If I could choose.
Yeah, when you said ambient horror earlier, I was like, yes, that's correct. I would agree with it.
I love that. And I would very much feel just as comfortable, I think, making a hard R straight horror movie as I would a reboot of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Yeah, sorry.
Yes. Well, this is the hard R version of Are You Afraid of the Dark, honestly. So
it kind of is. Somebody asked me, they're like, well, it starts out like Disney's Haunted Mansion, and then suddenly it's like a hard R. I'm just curious, like, who is this for? Is this for adults or kids? And I said, it's for adults who still feel like kids. There's so many of us. I mean,
all of us.
I want to recapture that. I want to feel that feeling again that I felt when I was 12 and I was introduced to horror for the first
comfort of being traumatized as a little kid. Like, I'm chasing that every day.
Right. And I like also how somehow if you're making content for a younger audience, it's somehow lesser content. I think that that's bullshit. Like, sure, a
Absolutely.
lot of stuff maybe now that's being made for teenagers is sort of talking down to them, and it is lesser content. But I think you can make significant cinema for all ages if you do it with sort of heart, and that's kind of the direction I would like to
Oh,
head into.
definitely. And people are always so shocked when you make something of substance and then put it in a YA package, like with Buffy or from a number of different projects. Like,
Oh
people
yeah,
are so floored when it happens, but it doesn't need to be like that because there's so much good stuff out there.
100%. I think there just needs to be more creators. There needs to be who get that opportunity, more Joss Whedons and other people that sort of, and it's tricky because the film industry has become super narrow in what movies need to be, and marketing departments how they need to sell them. And I'm hoping, and I think we're seeing this right now, in that the streaming market and all the movies that they sort of need to fill their slates, they're kind of taking a lot more wilder swings. They're letting creatives kind of follow their gut, and I think that, I hope that great movies are going to come of it. The negative would be that it would just the streamers themselves slip into the same patterns as the studios, but right now is a great time to be a filmmaker.
Oh, totally. It's like with music. There's just, sure, popular music always, you can complain about, but now that anyone can make indie music, there's so much cool stuff out there. And I think the same thing is happening with film. You were talking earlier about approaching companies to take on like big IPs, like Creepshow and stuff like that. Do you have like any dream adaptations in your back pocket, like books or games or anything like that? Like, do you have like a dream adaptation that you would want to do that you can tell us about?
Oh man. Um, God, I have so many. I mean, there's a Ray
Yeah.
Bradbury book of short
Oh,
stories called
is it the October
yeah,
Country? I'm sorry to
yeah,
interrupt you.
October Country. No, no,
I
no,
am
that's right.
reading the Halloween Tree literally as we speak, like before and after this interview. So it's hilarious that you just said that. I
It's
love
so
that
good.
book so much. It's terrifying and beautiful. The one about the people that get buried alive, and I think Latin America, is that like one of the first ones
Uh-huh.
in there? That is such a scary, delightful book that I obviously, calls to you. I can see why.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you kind of you pinned it. It's Ray Bradbury is somehow manages to write something that's incredibly scary and incredibly beautiful simultaneously, which I
So
just
beautiful.
love. And I think that lends itself so well to cinema and cinematic language and visuals and sound.
I'm trying to think of those stories because I read that book about a year ago for the first time, and some of them scared me so much. Do you have any like off cuff that you remember that like really stand out to you from that anthology?
I like this one called The Crowd. It's
Remind me. Oh,
it's
I remember. Yeah, remind me. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No, it's fine.
It's so good.
It's the guy. The guy gets the car accident, and he sort of wakes up on the street, and he's surrounded by this group of people who are kind of like encroaching, kind of like looky
Mhm.
loos, and
Mhm.
they start to encroach in so tightly that he's like feeling overwhelmed by them, and all of a sudden the ambulance sort of shows up, and the people kind of disperse, and they get taken. He gets taken away, and then later he's sort of driving home, and he sees another car accident. And he sees a body on the ground, and he sees the same group of people um, around that body, and he starts to sort of uncover this like weird supernatural conspiracy of this same group of people that show up every time someone's close to death to take them away, and it's just so cool and eerie and
So
amazing.
cool. It's like an adult version of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, kind of
Yeah,
out
yeah.
there.
I mean, I felt like the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark books were kind of for adults based on just the artwork. The artwork alone was like,
Yeah. No, they were for kids, and they were to absolutely destroy the minds of young kids, and I think it was successful.
yeah. Did you like the film that they made?
I did. I can't always trust myself with stuff like that, if it's good or if I'm just really into it. But I can tell you, I was really into it, and that's where I'm
Yeah,
coming from.
I'm right there with you. I also
Yeah.
was sort of taken by the beauty of the production and sort of the
Oh,
color palette and how wonderfully immersive it was. I definitely would have preferred a more anthological structure to it.
yeah, yeah. I
Um,
feel you. And
not to be pushing the anthology on every movie, but it kind
please
of screamed of that, and I feel like if that movie had leaned into the anthology aspect and had done it well, I think anthologies would be a lot more of a viable
right
form
now,
of
I know
storytelling
people are
right
scared of the anthology. I think in the suits. I have a feeling you know better than I do, but I feel
now.
like people
Yes,
aren't totally sure how to sell them, and they ruined Harold. Obviously, I would say Harold is obviously like the scariest story of all time, and it was very CGI.
and so I mean, I feel like it eliminated the things about the original Herald story that are so unsettling.
Jesus,
The two
yeah.
farmers in the middle of nowhere, like
Oh my god,
herding
I used to
sheep,
love it. Yeah, and then the skinning
the
aspect is just
skinny, yeah,
so gruesome
and
and
him dancing on a
good.
roof, like
Was he dancing at the end?
well, no, remember that was the thing is like first Harold starts to make sounds, then he
Yeah,
starts to
yeah,
slightly
yeah.
move, and then he
Uh-huh.
starts to dance on the roof every night.
Okay. Oh, that Harold, he's up to no good. I can tell. I want a Harold movie.
Okay, I mean,
Um,
I would definitely direct a Harold movie. That would be amazing.
please do.
I did. I don't have a direct association with Guillermo del Toro,
Oh,
although
okay. Bye. I'm hanging up.
yeah, that's the whole emphasis for this
Yeah,
interview.
yeah. There's no podcast.
Um, um, I should have done some research ahead of time. Damn it.
Mhm. Okay,
He,
yeah.
I mean, he obviously is one of my heroes, and just to even sort of talk to him for 5 minutes would be amazing. But no, some company or Legendary Pictures was doing a this promotional thing for Crimson Peak, and it was really cool. Basically, they built these amazing Crimson Peak sets at a soundstage here in LA, and they brought in like 12 filmmakers to make short films within in the sets. So we basically, it was actually an insane project too because it was like, can you write a movie that can take place in the foyer of a mansion? And I was just like,
Yeah. Yes, I
I was
can.
like, yeah, my in the meeting I said yes, but then creatively off the side I was like, how the hell am I going to just write something that's set in a mansion? I didn't even get to look at the space until like 2 days before
Okay.
shooting,
Oh, that's
and we
terrifying.
and we only had 8 hours to shoot it, and so it was like it
God,
was
okay.
it was a real crazy like, okay, I'm just going to get like some volunteer friends and two actors that I know and a couple of costumes from Goodwill, and I'm just going to like throw it together. But it was really fun. It was a really fun project. It's out there now. It's called Bundle of Nerves. I think you can see it on my Vimeo page.
Name. Okay, if you could make an installment or a direct-to-video entry to any of the 80s horror franchises, like do you know which one you would choose? Like really late to the game, preferably direct-to-video, preferably like in canon, like so no reboots.
Uh-huh. Okay, no reboots.
No reboots. No prequels. Yeah.
It's funny because I was when you first asked, I was thinking in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre canon, but that is such a quagmire of reboots
Oh,
upon reboots upon
well,
reboots. I
I know
don't
where
even
that
know
canon
where.
ends, and I would love that. So that ends with the McConaughey Zellweger moment, canon wise.
You think that's the last one
I'm
before
certain
reboots?
of it. Yeah. What's it called? The Next Generation or something
Next
stupid?
Generation. Yeah. Texas
Yeah.
Chainsaw.
It
Yeah.
had such a good poster though with the lipstick slash chainsaw.
It did. It did.
Jesus.
Um, I,
Um,
I don't know. I don't know if that would be my choice though, because
okay,
I'm
fair.
not sure if I would be able to progress forward on that trajectory.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be possible.
I mean, it would be. I'd have to go Nightmare on Elm Street.
Uh-huh.
Um, oh man, I can tell you're disappointed by that answer.
No, I'm not disappointed at all. I was
I,
just thinking, where does it go? Like, does that go post New Nightmare?
I think it's a present day. I think it's set in present day, and I think it revolves around Elm Street having sort of disappeared off the map, and it starting to re-emerge in interesting ways as the memory of Freddy starts to be sort of somebody finds some part of Freddy, maybe a
Uh-huh.
glove, and he starts to regain power again, or something along those lines.
Okay, please make a new Freddy movie. I have been desperate for some Freddy for the last 11 years or something insane.
Yeah, what's happening with that? I know.
It seems like the Wes Craven estate is like taking pitches, so maybe you need to call them. I don't know.
Is that true? That's
yeah. I believe it is true. At least it was like a few months ago or something. The Wes Craven estate was said something along the lines that they were taking pitches, and I know Spectrovision, the Elijah Wood company, definitely had a pitch ready for them. So I feel like something is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, how do you compete with Elijah Wood, you know?
He's like one of my biggest crushes, too, I have to say, like Hollywood-wise. So you can't. It's impossible.
He is pretty awesome. As a straight man, I can tell you that I totally get that. And he's just got a lot. He's just cool. He's just a cool guy. And then he's like a giant, enormous celebrity, but also like making weirdo horror movies. I mean, what?
Oh, you can tell. You can tell he gets it. And like his podcast, did an interview with Guillermo del Toro, and I was like, oh, this guy's.
It's great. I know, of course. He's like, let's make a podcast, and we'll only talk to A-list directors. Taika.
Can you imagine? I mean, that's kind of. I'm living my version of that right now. So there you go. All right, so your answer is nightmare, and I think that's actually a good answer. Can I tell you what mine is? Because I've been desperate to talk about this. I want to make, I don't know if you're aware, but there is a third I Know What You Did Last Summer movie called I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. Were you aware of this?
Yep.
Okay, I want to make a fourth one. All I know is that I think I'm going to call it Forever Summer, like get the number in the title.
Ooh.
And I want Hesh back from the first one somehow. And I think I want to change it to like a Louisiana swamp setting. Okay. And that is all I have. That's all I've got. And like a storm.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, are you gonna how do you connect? You have to connect summer to Louisiana. So if you want the swamp setting, you have to figure some sort of maybe spring break setting's a little bit boring. Maybe
or just do winter and never talk about why. Just like never give any explanation. The theory is bonkers and it doesn't make sense. I can tell you that right now. I've investigated the plot holes and it really doesn't add up. But yeah, you're right. Summer needs to be there. It's very 4th of July with the fireworks and all that crap.
Forever Summer is great.
Do you like it? Thank you.
I do. I love
Endless Summer, maybe like kind of Lana Del Rey vibes. I don't know. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. So now you have me already. Now I'm thinking. Now my mind's already going. Okay. Now how do you connect summer? It's some sort of like Galveston, Texas, sort of summer destination spot that's like swamp adjacent, or like
I was thinking like
New Orleans.
She's like in the swamps. She has this like shack that's like in the swamps. But you know those like houses that are in the swamps and they're kind of like built on top of
stilts.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I'm thinking she's like there. She's on her porch with a shotgun, just like waiting for the day. And like a bunch of teens in like a motorboat get stranded at her little shack. And
oh man, can the climax of the film somehow involve like a shit ton of alligators? Because that
well, of course.
Okay, yeah. Okay, great.
I love alligators. Paint them black. I like it. Have you ever been excited about a horror movie that just never came out or never actually got made? If no, it's such a specific question that no is acceptable.
No, of course I have. I have been waiting for a long time for Del Toro's At the Mountains of Madness.
I'm going to do a full-on episode about that, so I'm really happy that you said that.
Oh, amazing. I mean, I think that I could just go to Guillermo del Toro's IMDb page and just tell you all of the horror things that I want to see.
They should just let him make anything he wants. Where is Hellboy 3? Okay?
Oh my God, I know.
I've never been... At the end of Hellboy 2 was just like the best thing of all time. Where's the third one where I want it?
Yeah, I think it was kind of unceremonious because he's such a passionate guy. I know that project that he had been working on for a long time, I know it was close to his heart, and I know that he didn't just walk away for like some petty reason. I think it was
or he like got an Oscar and it was like, okay, honey, it's time.
Well, that's the thing. That was he was sort of a popcorn guy.
I know, and he does it, but he can do both so well. He kind of like looks like an old version of me too. So he's like really, I'm really obsessed with him. He's really in my heart. Like, yeah. it's in the Mouth of Madness, right? I always get it mixed up because it's hard.
In the Mountains of Madness.
Mountains, gotcha. Okay, Mouth is a different thing. Sorry,
That's a pretty fun movie.
Mountains of Madness, yeah. this is a Lovecraft time. I feel like this is the time to see weird interpretations on Lovecraft stuff.
I agree. The thing with me though is, and this is, I don't know if this is blasphemous for horror fans, but I'm not super keen on Lovecraft movies that lean heavy into the specific lore. Like when it starts talking about, um, the specific gods and the sort of kind of thing loses me a little bit. It's a little dense. I'm more of a fan of like The Mist, where it's like clearly a Lovecraft inspired tale, but it still sort of leans into
story. It has a story, it has a narrative, and it's
a story. Yeah.
Because he doesn't really. I don't know. I was gonna say it's not like Lovecraft gives us story, but I guess he does. But I agree with you. What's scary about it is like what you're not seeing or what you're only getting a glimpse of. The Mist is so good. How dare that be as good as it is? The story and the movie.
I agree with that. I don't know. That was a criminally under loved movie, I think, for its time.
See, I like it though because like no one gets it but me. No one can have it. It's mine.
That's true. You know? That's true. I think some movies almost have a superpower by being that. It would probably hurt them if they were just like the biggest thing in the world.
Well, the biggest Oscar snub of all time goes to the actress. I don't remember her name, the one that plays the crazy religious lady.
Oh yeah.
You might know her name.
This is Carmody. I don't remember her. The actress.
She's like a big deal. I think she was a lead on the show Weeds. People are in the car yelling at us right now. But yeah, that should have been an Oscar for her. Okay, have you ever been? Yeah. Okay. So, is there any other that you can think of that is like you were excited about that you just like it didn't happen? And again, no.
I should have done some more research on this because I feel like I could probably list off like 30.
I know. And then like after we hang up, we're gonna be like, oh, every movie I've ever made. It's
what though? I will say one other, not to backtrack, but another movie. Can it be a third movie in a franchise?
Absolutely.
Oh, I would also love to take a stab at The Fly.
I love this idea. Do you have like any like pitch off the cuff?
It's so good. I can't say it out loud. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have one, but it would. I just love that. I love The Fly so much.
Gotta get somehow. I don't know how you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Was it a Mick Garris movie, The Fly 2? I feel like it was.
No, directing.
Yeah,
maybe he may have been involved, but the director I think of The Fly 2 was he was somebody that worked on The Fly 1. He was like, I think the special effects guy, maybe.
Cool. I love when people get a raise. That's so inspiring.
I liked that. I've liked The Fly 2. I haven't seen it for a really long time, but I really liked it as a kid, and I was really.
I haven't seen it.
I mean, I can say I don't know if this counts for your second question, but I would do anything to see Peter Jackson make another horror movie.
I was talking about all the unmade Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and I was going through his pitch for Nightmare on Elm Street 6. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know he did it. I know he wrote a script for it, but I haven't.
Yeah, he wrote a script called The Dream Lover, and I'm hoping there's a romance involved, hence the title, but that's all I have.
Interesting. Yeah. I think, you know what's so weird? I want to say that somewhere I heard that, and I think somehow it's loosely inspired my version of Nightmare on Elm Street that I pitched you already. I ganked that something.
You may have also watched Never Sleep Again, the documentary. That's the best documentary of all time. I'm sorry to your documentary because I'm sure it's good too. But
I know. Never Sleep Again is the best 37-hour documentary I've ever seen.
I mean, why isn't it just a TV show? I don't get to ask questions. I have no complaints. It's fine.
My documentary also is just it's a short. It was part of our Kickstarter campaign that we used to sort of give the genre websites some content so we could sort of get their help raising money. And it kind of started off as a marketing thing, but it ended up being a really awesome experience, and I really enjoyed making it. And also documentaries are easy to make. I'm kind of just saying that to piss off documentary filmmakers, but
they're mad.
There's something about like when you're like making a film like the Mortuary Collection for some reason, and every single set, every single prop, every single car, every costume, every hairstyle, every like element of it has to be made from scratch and painted and built and lit and affixed. And there's something really insane about just going into somebody's office and setting up a camera and like shooting them doing an interview and cutting it together, and then you have a movie.
And you're like, how dare this be more engaging than the thing I built by hand? You know what I mean?
That's so true. But you know who really makes a documentary come to life is the editor. That's the magician behind the.
Oh, that's the same for any film, I'd argue. You didn't edit your films, did you, or am I fully uninformed?
No, I didn't. I worked with a couple of really great editors on the Mortuary Collection, but I used to edit, but I've deferred because I just don't like. I lose my mind when I sit at a computer all day.
When I love to sit with an editor and drive them literally insane.
That's my trick. That's my
trick. Yeah. And at the end, you're happy and you're friends, but in the process, they're not. Yeah. Yes. Any other favorite anthology horror that maybe people might not have heard of at home?
Well, I'm glad you brought it up. This is a nice segue, actually, coming off of Wes Craven, because I was just thinking about John Carpenter made a movie called Body Bag. It's fantastic. It's a wonderful sort of lesser-known horror anthology that was initially made to be a TV show, a made-for-TV movie. And I think they repurposed it to a feature. But the reason that I bring it up, other than it being wonderful, is that Wes Craven is in it as an actor, and he's fantastic in it.
Which segment was he? Is it like a gas station segment?
He's in the gas station segment, and it really kind of gave me a little. I watched it not long ago, and it gave me a sort of a little emotional, kick to see him just kind of doing his thing, on the set, surrounded by all of his contemporary like horror friends.
Can you imagine hanging out with those guys? Just, geez Louise. I was listening to the director of Friday the 13th Part 6 on some podcast recently, and he was talking about how he was like at a dinner party with all of these directors, including Quentin Tarantino, just talking about horror, and how Quentin Tarantino's favorite Friday movie is Part 5, which is so funny to me. But I was just like, I want to go there right now.
They have a thing out here in LA that Mick Garris hosts, I believe, called Masters of Horror Dinner.
This actually might be what I'm talking about, honestly.
It is. No, it is.
Okay, it is? Sure. Yeah, okay.
It's all of those guys. It's Wes Craven, it's Quentin Tarantino, it's Robert Rodriguez, it's Guillermo del Toro. It's all of the who's who of like kick-ass genre directors just having dinner and drinking and talking about movies. And then there's some younger up and coming guys that I don't know how the fuck they managed to get their way in there, but I'm so envious of them.
Yeah, I hate them. They don't.
That being said, I would probably go there and I'd just be like so like nervous that I would just
no, because then they'd start talking about body bags or something, and you'd be like, "I have so much to say." Like that's how it would happen. That's the thing with horror people is that they can be intimidating, but the second you start talking about anything that you share in common, it's like, okay, yeah, you're my best friend forever.
It's true. It's interesting because growing up as a horror person and kind of never really being at the cool kids table. And it's interesting to move to LA and have met all of these other people who were never at the cool kids table. And now it feels like there's a cool kids table within the uncool kids table, which is the Masters of Horror Dinner. And how do you ever I feel like I'm never, no matter where I get in my career, there's like one more cool table above me that I can't quite get to.
You have to make the next generation. You know what I mean? Like they're all they're on the way out. It's fine.
It'll just be me and a bunch of influencers.
Yeah. Oh, don't say that. I'll come too. It'll be fun. But yeah, okay, I know. Cool. What a dream. Yes, that's exactly what they were talking about. It's just, I was also obsessed with Quentin Tarantino liking the Fifth Friday the most because it's the worst one, but it's so Quentin Tarantino in every possible way.
He has wonderfully weird taste, and it's like a blessing if Quentin Tarantino comes out and says publicly that he really dug your movie.
But it also secretly means that it's the worst entry.
That's right.
I love that. Do you have any advice for emerging filmmakers in the world?
Yeah, I do. I mean, this maybe comes back to what we talked about earlier, but I would, especially for people moving out to LA and getting really excited and getting ahead of themselves, I would be weary of wasting time not creating stuff because you're following some sort of guide or pathway that you think is the way there. If the pathway to sort of success does not involve you making stuff on a regular basis, that's not the pathway to success, in my experience. And then I also would say, I think a big mistake that I see with a lot of sort of new filmmakers is get excited about a project. You write it, you make it, you edit it, and you're so excited to get it out into the world that people tend to finish too soon and just kind of like shit it out. And I don't mean that. I guess I do mean that like that. They just they're so excited to get their project out to the world to get feedback that they don't take the time and the care to make it the very best it can be. And that little extra push at the end when everyone else is kind of giving up on you and you're sort of alone and you're sort of, it can be a little better and you're pushing and you're just you're asking, if you just come help me get this one more shot. Just help me sort of, let's just take another look at this one scene. Maybe we can like tighten it up or maybe there's a better piece of music. Those little sort of hold out till the end moments, I think, can take a project from forgettable to really special. And I think it's important for filmmakers to understand that, you don't want to be working on your movie for your short film for like 4 years straight. Then you've sort of gone too far. But there is this little time period at the end of making a movie where you can always do one more push and make it a little bit better. And I think that sort of separates the real filmmakers from the aspiring.
I think that makes a lot of sense. This is cheesy, but the devil's in the details. Take one last look at that draft because, who knows who's going to be looking at it.
Even if it's just like you have an iPhone and you have some actors improvising, even the really loose sort of, indie mumblecore stuff, the best creators in that space are putting the time and energy into making it really special and doing everything they can within their means to make it right before they sort of send it out. And I think that's just, I don't know. It's kind of hard to quantify, and I guess yeah.
And also you're so excited to share it that like, you just make it because it's your resume, you have to make it as beautiful as you can.
That's right.
Do you have any favorite genre film fests in the world?
Yeah. I feel like there's a new one I just figured out recently, but I'm trying to remember what it was. I think there's one little festival in North Carolina called Cucaloris.
Oh, I never heard of it.
That was always just such a wonderful. They treated short filmmakers really well, and they would often like fly you out and put you up.
Wow.
And, it was really a wonderful festival. Now that I say it out loud, I'm wondering if they may have canceled the festival altogether last year, but because they were sort of struggling. But I tend to be really drawn to festivals that really take care of the creators, because that's the weird thing about festivals is like they're essentially selling content that other people are making. And if you're not really if you're so obsessed with, getting a celebrity to come or sort of the bells and whistles, but you're not taking care of the people that are creating the content, I think you sort of lost your way. And so any festival that, gives the filmmakers something extra, I think. I don't know what that means. That sounded weird when I said it like that. Any festival that gives the filmmakers something extra.
Yeah.
I thought Chattanooga Film Festival is really great.
My film was just there this year, and they were so cool. And
they're so cool.
They were so passionate.
They're wonderful, and I think if you liked them digitally, just wait till you get to go in person.
It was so sad that we couldn't go in person. I know, and I think more people got to see it because of the digital side.
And they've modeled themselves pretty closely to Fantastic Fest, and Fantastic Fest is another festival that really like treats the filmmakers with a special experience, because like I remember we went out there and they had like one day it was like shooting shotguns, and then there was like a filmmaker barbecue, and then there was like all these different special parties and events, round tables. The Austin Film Festival is awesome for screenwriters and directors alike. Again, lots of parties and events. All you really need is a festival that gives you free alcohol and puts you in a room with other filmmakers. So you want to just commiserate and talk about movies and art and get drunk while you do it so you're not awkward. And if you can do that much, the rest, the movies are almost secondary.
Yes, I know. I was really intimidated by that concept going into these festivals, but then the second you're in one of those weird little goth bars with all of the horror filmmakers and you're drunk, the most fun, exciting thing that can happen.
I feel like I could spend the rest of my life doing that. It's just, you go up, you see the name tag, you go, what film are you here? You talk to strangers in these situations that you would never talk to in like regular life. You'd never go up to strangers and be like, so what do you do?
Yeah. What's your story? Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Oh, can I also, sorry.
Yeah, please.
Another festival I want to bring up is Toronto After Dark. So I've never been able to go. We were scheduled to go. I had my ticket and everything. I actually hurt my back. I injured my back like 2 days before this year.
Your producer let us all know, actually.
Oh, did you meet him?
Yeah, I was there. And I remember them were like, yeah, our director's not here. He's like...
The way he talked about it, I was so upset that I couldn't go. And then, of course, triple upset when pandemic happened and all of our festivals were canceled.
Yes.
But it sounded amazing. And of course, he told you that I injured my back in a really cool skydiving accident and not something mundane, right?
Yeah. And it wasn't just me. It was like definitely like an audience of like 500 people or something. for sure.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's where I saw your film for the first time. And it was like, thank God I got to see it in theaters. Like, no offense to everyone that watched it on Shudder.
No. It's cool. I mean, what I like best about people that saw it in theaters is I do think it's a movie that rewards a second watch. So I've been loving talking to people who had seen it once and just kind of like experienced it like on just a surface level, the kind of more visceral level in the theater. And then the second time at home, they can kind of watch it and start picking up some of the layers that are sort of right beneath the surface. Cause I think that's where some of the stuff I'm most proud of is.
This movie's going to have legs for the rest of your life because of Halloween.
Man, that would be, then I could die happy. Then I could, if this is the only film I make, I'm happy that it's a film that could potentially be something people revisit for years to come.
Do you have a favorite Stephen King short story?
Oh, I mean, I have several, but my favorite is probably his short story for 1408. To me, was so scary that it actually made me nauseous reading it.
Scary as all hell.
It was scary. I wasn't super keen on the feature, but that's probably because I loved the short so much.
The story is so good. Mm-hmm. Have you read The Jaunt?
Yes, it's amazing. I love that one too. Wait, the Jaunt?
Yeah.
So good.
I read that on a plane for the first time when I was like a teenager, and I have never been the same, I think, since.
It's a perfect setting to read it.
It's a perfect setting. For people that may not know, it's like a short sci-fi story that's about like what could go wrong with teleportation, and it's so chilling and nightmarish, and you won't be the same after reading it. So I was just talking about it recently. Good. I can't not talk about The Jaunt. It comes up whenever anyone lets me bring it up. So
I've put a lot of thought into how I would try to adapt that into a short.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, no, I mean it's a tricky one because the framing story is all set sort of on a plane. That would be pretty easy to pull off. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it exists in sort of these flashback sequences when the scientists are creating the device. Remember that?
And that's the scariest stuff. Like when they're like experimenting and like sending like prisoners into the world.
Yeah, they start with mice, I think.
Oh, and someone sends their wife into it, but doesn't set up the other side. People are going to be like, what are they talking about? But
oh yeah, oh my God! Now you're reminding me how cool that story was. I haven't read that story for a long time. I love it. Is that from Skeleton Crew?
It is. It's from Skeleton Crew, which is a little more hit and miss than his other ones, but when it's just so many good ones in there. There's also Mrs. Todd's Shortcut, which I'm obsessed with, and I want to make into a film.
Well, that's because also that's when Stephen King was dabbling in the old drugs and alcohol and cigarettes, and he just made his weirdest, wildest stuff. I love that stuff.
Before it got out of hand with like the Tommyknockers, it was like the sweet spot of addiction.
Yeah, Dreamcatcher.
Oh my God, Dreamcatcher. Yuck. I've never read it, actually. I've only seen the movie, so what do I know? I've heard it's bad.
I read it. It's I mean, the movie is taking something the book's better than the movie.
My mom is so bored at this point. I can tell you that right now. She hates horror. But yeah, did you tell us where we can find you on the internet?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the Twitter at Ryan Spindell. If you search it, you can find me, and I'm also pretty active on Instagram. I have so many cool photos I got to start posting. I was just getting that anxiety of being behind in posting stuff. So Definitely check me out there. And wait, you have to tell me the other short story that you like.
Oh, Mrs. Todd's Shortcut. It's also out of Skeleton Crew. Do you remember it, or should I give it a quick description?
Yeah, give me a quick one.
Okay, so it's this woman, this like wealthy woman that is loves driving through her rural town and like through the side roads, and she's obsessed with finding quicker routes to get from point A to point B, to the point of eventually she starts to find like interdimensional sort of pockets in the woods where she can sort of make the shortcut faster and faster, and then when she gets to the other side, she'll find like residue of like giant bugs on her car that she had hit. It's actually very Mist adjacent, actually.
It's kind of. Yeah, I mean, it's also thematically very much linked with the jaunt. I'm starting to get a good idea about where your tastes lie.
Yes, it's in the void, the abyss. I'm so afraid of it. Why is it there? Very. Apparently, Brad Pitt's company optioned the jaunt in like 2014. I hope that doesn't happen. I no offense to Brad Pitt, but I just think I don't know. I don't trust it there. So
it's tricky. I mean, I think that based on just like us talking about it, remembering it, I think it would make a really fantastic like 15 to 20 minute short.
Yes, I agree with you fully. How do you can't pull that out into a feature? It might be like a cool play. I take that back. No, it's not a play. But yeah, no. It's a safe space. Safe space.
You think so?
Maybe it's just like maybe you could do it with never showing anything and just having like boring people talking about it.
No, I think so. I think it's the plane set, and then the set rotates, and on the backside it's the laboratory in the bar.
That's the lab. Okay, so you're in Hollywood. Please just make this happen for me. Okay.
It's a musical.
Okay. You know what? You know who you're messing with. I would be okay with it.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me. This was so fun. I'm like, Definitely. The only reason I'm hanging up because I don't want to waste up your entire life. But this was amazing. And as I said, first celebrity guest, wow.
Can only go up from here.
I mean, no offense, but absolutely. No, it's not such we could go downhill easily. There's my mom, there's my dog. Like, there's a lot of people less. My poor mom, I'm ripping on her too hard. Okay.
You really are. You don't have to.
I really am. Anyway, thank you again, and hopefully I talk to you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Let me know if you have any more questions. I'm always an email away.
Okay, sweet. We'll talk to you later. Bye for now.
Bye.
Okay, so that was our interview with Ryan Spindell, creator of the Mortuary Collection. You can find the Mortuary Collection right now on Shudder. And if you could also do us a favor of subscribing to this podcast, sharing it, writing a review, telling your friends, that would be really appreciated. And we'll be back with another episode of Development Hell.